You walk into a room, open your mouth, and deliver this brilliant, perfectly researched, airtight argument,
Right.
and nobody cares. Like, people are checking their phones, they stare blankly, they just immediately move on to the next topic.
It is incredibly frustrating.
It really is. And why does it happen? Because the actual words coming out of your mouth are responsible for maybe 8 to 12% of whether people actually listen to you.
Exactly.
The other 88 to 92%, it is entirely invisible psychology. It's this invisible architecture of how your brain connects with their brain without either of you even realizing it's happening.
It forces a complete reevaluation of, well, basically every interaction you have ever had, doesn't it? Welcome, everyone. I am Bailey.
And I am Alex. We are your narrators today from Summary Sanctum.
We are so thrilled to have you, the learner, with us for this deep dive, because our mission today is to completely decode that invisible architecture of powerful communication.
Yeah, we're pulling apart the insights from the book on how to speak smart.
Right. And we are going to give you the exact actionable tools to command a room, to influence others ethically, and to build this unshakable, process-driven confidence.
Because we want to prove to you that charisma is not some genetic lottery ticket. It's not something you're either born with or you're just out of luck.
No, not at all. It is a highly learnable structural skill.
By the time we wrap up this conversation today, you won't just talk differently. You're going to fundamentally think differently about every single interaction in your life.
I completely agree. But before we can start building up these powerful magnetic communication habits, we kind of have to clear the brush.
Oh, definitely.
We have to identify the invisible mistakes that are quietly destroying your influence right now.
Yeah, and you know exactly what I'm talking about here. Like, think about your own workplace right now. There is always that one person who, let's be honest, isn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed.
We all know one.
Right. Their ideas are average at best.
Yeah.
But somehow, everyone just hangs on their every word. They get the promotions, they close the impossible deals, they have this undeniable gravitational pull.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you have genuinely brilliant people, folks with incredible ideas and deep expertise who just cannot get a single person to take them seriously.
And the difference between those two people is almost never raw intelligence, and it is rarely just blind luck.
Right.
It comes down to communication mastery, plain and simple. And the real tragedy here is that the vast majority of people are making these fundamental communication mistakes without having a single clue they are doing it.
Yeah, they're just completely unaware.
The book actually outlines 7 fatal flaws that act as silent influence killers. So let's start with the most insidious one, which is reactive communication.
Oh, this one is huge.
It really is. This happens when you are constantly waiting for others to set the tone of an interaction. You walk into a meeting, and instead of establishing your presence, you just wait for someone else to determine the direction, the energy, and the pace of the discussion.
Right, you're just following along.
Exactly. You simply respond. You follow their lead.
It feels like being a ping pong ball instead of the paddle.
Yeah.
You are just bouncing off whatever energy everyone else brings to the table.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
I see this all the time when people use these weak hedging phrases. They say things like, I think maybe you're probably right, or I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but
Yes.
It sounds like they're essentially asking the room for permission to have an opinion.
That is exactly what is happening. And the psychological dynamic that creates is just devastating to your authority.
Okay.
When you are constantly reacting and hedging, you are unconsciously handing over your power.
Wow.
You are training everyone around you to file you under the category of follower. And we have to look at this from an evolutionary standpoint to really understand it.
Okay, lay it on me.
Our brains are hardwired to seek out and respect certainty and authority. Because historically, following certainty kept us alive in the wild.
Right, if someone says run, you don't debate it.
Exactly. Reactive communication signals the exact opposite. It tells the primitive parts of the listener's brain that you are unsure of your environment, which makes you a liability, not a leader.
Which perfectly explains why trying to overcompensate for that insecurity leads right into the second massive mistake.
Yes, it does.
And this one absolutely kills me because smart, highly educated people do it constantly. I'm talking about information dumping.
Oh, it is so common.
It is this ingrained belief that if you just pile on enough facts, enough data, enough statistics, and endless explanations, the other person will eventually have to agree with you.
They think logic will just win by sheer volume.
Right. You think, here are 47 bulletproof, logical reasons why I am right. Surely you will see the light now. But, I mean, it is like trying to fill a tiny teacup with a high-pressure fire hose.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't actually fill the cup. You just blast everything away, create an enormous mess, and trigger massive resistance from the person holding the cup.
That teacup analogy perfectly illustrates the concept of cognitive overload. There is a massive misconception about how the human brain actually works here.
Break that down for us.
We do not process information logically first. We just don't. We process information emotionally first through a part of the brain called the amygdala.
Right.
And then we backfill with logic from the prefrontal cortex to justify what we already feel.
Wait, really? Emotion always comes first?
Every single time. So when you dump a fire hose of information on someone, you are completely overwhelming their cognitive capacity. Their brain literally goes into a defensive posture.
It shuts down.
It shuts down to protect itself from the flood. So they aren't rejecting your argument because your facts are wrong. They are tuning you out because their brain simply cannot handle the sheer volume of data you are hurling at them.
You're drowning in it.
Exactly.
But what happens when someone isn't necessarily saying too much, but their internal panic is practically vibrating off of them? Because that brings us to the third flaw, doesn't it? Emotional leakage.
Yes, emotional leakage. This is when your internal emotional state just seeps out all over your communication, regardless of how hard you are trying to project a calm exterior.
Like when you try to play it cool, but you're sweating bullets?
Precisely. You might have the perfect script, but your voice pitch goes up just a fraction of a decibel because you are nervous. Or you start talking 20% faster because you're anxious to get the spotlight off of you. Or maybe you lean in way too close across the table because you are desperate for their approval.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater.
Yeah.
You know, you can push it down for a minute, but the pressure eventually forces it to pop up, and usually at the worst possible moment.
That's a great visual.
But I'm curious, how much do people actually pick up on those tiny shifts in pitch or posture? Like, do they really notice a fraction of decibel?
They pick up on all of it, even if they can't articulate what they are seeing. Those micro signals communicate infinitely more than your actual words. They tell the people watching you, I am not in control of myself. And human psychology dictates a very simple rule. If you cannot control your own emotions, no one is going to trust you with important decisions, resources, or heavy responsibilities.
That makes total sense. Because why would I trust you with my big project if you can't even handle a basic update meeting without freaking out?
Exactly. It completely undermines your credibility in real time because your body is telling a totally different story than your mouth.
Okay, now, this next flaw is something I have actually heard praised in business seminars, so I really need you to unpack this for me.
Sure.
The fourth mistake is mirror communication. This is when you become a conversational chameleon, basically copying the style, the energy, and even the opinions of whoever you happen to be talking to.
Right.
But wait, isn't mirroring a highly recommended established sales tactic? Like, you are taught to mirror a prospect's body language or their vocabulary to build rapport. So how is that a fatal flaw?
That is a really crucial distinction to make. Intentional strategic mirroring of subtle body language or speaking cadence can indeed build rapport. It signals empathy.
Okay.
But the fatal mistake here is unconscious mirroring. When you unconsciously mirror someone's entire personality and opinion set just to keep the peace, you completely lose your unique voice.
Oh, I see.
You stop adding any actual value to the conversation because you are just echoing whatever they just said. Instead of coming across as agreeable or likable, you come across as weak, wishy-washy, and ultimately untrustworthy.
Because you stand for nothing.
Exactly. The other person's brain senses that you are not being authentic. You become a forgettable chameleon.
Okay, so it is the difference between consciously matching someone's speaking volume so you don't overwhelm them versus instantly agreeing with their terrible marketing idea just because they are the boss.
Yes, you are abandoning your own intellect.
You're losing your spine just to fit in, which actually feels like the exact opposite of the fifth mistake, which is defensive communication.
Yes, defensive communication is incredibly destructive.
This is when you are so rigid that someone gives you a totally neutral comment and you interpret it as a personal attack.
Right.
Like someone says, hey, did you send that email? And you immediately launch into a 5-minute justification about how busy you are, how your inbox is flooded, and how you were just about to do it. You turn a regular Tuesday morning check-in into a gladiator battle.
and it creates a terrible, exhausting, negative spiral. Think about the neurology of what is happening there.
Okay, what's going on in the brain?
You interpret a neutral comment as a threat, so your fight or flight system activates. You get defensive. That defensiveness comes across as hostility to the other person, which makes them feel attacked.
Oh man, so it just bounces back and forth.
Exactly. So they get more aggressive in response, which makes you even more defensive. It destroys relationships and broadcasts loud and clear that you are deeply insecure about your own competence.
Because if you were secure, you'd just say, not yet, I'll send it by noon.
Precisely. People will actively start avoiding you, withholding information, or working around you just to save their own energy.
I have definitely worked with people like that, where you have to mentally prepare yourself just to ask them a basic question. It is exhausting.
It really is.
Now, the sixth mistake is one that masks itself as a virtue, which makes it super tricky. Approval seeking.
Yes.
This is choosing harmony over truth every single time. Your main goal in the conversation isn't to be effective, it isn't to be honest, and it isn't to solve the problem. Your only goal is just to be liked.
Right. You just want them to smile at you.
Exactly. You are constantly scanning the other person's face, trying to figure out what they want to hear so you can feed it to them.
And the great irony of approval seeking is that while it seems like the nice thing to do, it is actually a very weak form of manipulation.
Wait, manipulation? How so?
Because you are manipulating the truth to manage their perception of you. You aren't being honest. You're trying to control how they feel about you. And people pick up on this quickly.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
When they sense that you care more about being liked than being honest with them, they lose all respect for you. They realize they can't trust you to give them straight feedback, tell them when a project is failing, or provide a dissenting opinion.
So by trying so hard to be liked, you render yourself completely irrelevant when it is time to make actual important decisions.
Exactly. You become the nice person who never gets invited to the strategy meetings.
Ouch. Yeah. And that leads us to the seventh mistake, which really encompasses all of the others. Unconscious communication.
Yes.
This is the habit of just winging it. Winging it without understanding the anatomy of a conversation. Think about it.
Yeah.
You would never perform surgery without studying human anatomy, right?
I certainly hope not.
You would never build a bridge without studying engineering. But people try to negotiate their salaries, resolve marital conflicts, or pitch million-dollar ideas without ever studying how human communication actually works.
They really do.
They just open their mouths, hope for the best, and then blame the other person for not understanding them, instead of taking responsibility for their own unclear delivery.
And that lack of intentionality is where all the trouble begins. But the incredibly empowering news here is that once you become aware of these 7 fatal flaws, you have the power to stop self-sabotaging.
Right, you can catch yourself.
You can step into every interaction with conscious strategy, but to do that effectively, to really build that strategy, we have to isolate the exact moment an interaction begins. We have to look at the neuroscience of the very first 3 seconds.
The 3-second first impression. Now, it sounds like an exaggeration, right? Like something a motivational speaker would just throw out there to get the crowd going.
It does sound like a soundbite.
But the book points out that your brain actually makes a deeply entrenched snap judgment about a stranger in less than 3 seconds. And that judgment is incredibly hard to rewire later.
It is not an exaggeration at all. It is a measurable neurological event. And it is not a bug in human psychology. It is a critical feature. Yes. It is an evolutionary survival mechanism known as thin slice judgments. Over millions of years, our ancestors had to be able to instantly look at a stranger approaching across a field and decide, is this person a threat? Are they an ally? Are they higher status or lower status than me?
Because if you took too long to figure it out, you got eaten.
Exactly. The brain takes a tiny, incredibly thin slice of visual and auditory information and uses it to make massive, sweeping predictions about your character, your competence, and your intentions.
Wow.
In fact, Princeton researchers have actually found that people form strong impressions of trustworthiness in mere milliseconds, based almost entirely on voice tone and physical clarity alone.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second because this concept always bothers me.
Go ahead.
Doesn't this just mean we are unfairly judging a book by its cover? It feels incredibly harsh and superficial that someone's entire intellect, all their degrees, all their hard work, is being judged in milliseconds before they have even had a chance to make their point.
It absolutely feels unfair, and in many societal contexts, it is. But the reality we have to face is that because this is a hardwired, primitive evolutionary trait, wishing it didn't exist will not help you succeed.
Right, you can't just protest biology.
You cannot fight millions of years of human evolution with wishful thinking. But you can learn to speak its language. You can learn to send the exact signals that primitive brain is looking for.
Okay, so how do we do that?
That language starts immediately with physical presence. Before a single syllable leaves your lips, people are evaluating your posture. Are you aligned and grounded? Are you taking up an appropriate amount of space?
Like, are you standing tall?
Yes. Or are you collapsed, making yourself physically small, crossing your arms to protect your vital organs? Or perhaps you are overly stiff, holding tension in your shoulders like a robot bracing for impact.
Right, and taking up space doesn't mean standing at rigid military attention, and it definitely doesn't mean sprawling out aggressively and invading someone else's personal bubble.
No, not at all.
It is about a stable, grounded presence that silently communicates, I belong in this room, and I am comfortable in my own skin.
Beautifully said.
And a massive part of establishing that presence is what you do with your eyes. The book talks about the sweet spot for eye contact ratios, which I found fascinating because, well, we all know that person who either never looks at you or stares into your soul until you want to call the police.
Yes, both extremes are very uncomfortable.
The sweet spot is 3 to 5 seconds of sustained eye contact while you are speaking and 4 to 6 seconds while you are listening.
That ratio is mathematically critical for building trust. Strong, consistent eye contact signals confidence, honesty, and engagement.
Right.
But if you hold that gaze without breaking contact naturally, say, staring for 10 or 12 seconds straight, it bypasses connection and quickly triggers a dominance battle in the primitive part of the other person's brain.
Oh, so it becomes a threat.
It becomes an aggressive challenge. It makes them deeply uncomfortable. That 3 to 5 second window while speaking creates a powerful bond without triggering that fight or flight discomfort. It shows you are engaged, but not predatory.
Okay, so you are standing tall, you're making that perfect 3 to 5 seconds of eye contact. And then your mouth finally opens. Your vocal quality comes into play.
Yes, the voice.
And this is where so many people instantly betray their own expertise. If you speak too quietly, you are basically screaming insecurity.
All right.
If you speak too quickly, you are broadcasting nervous energy, telling them you just want to get this over with. And then there is uptalk.
Oh, uptalk. A dreaded uptalk.
That is where you end a definitive statement sounding like you were asking a question.
Exactly.
Just destroys your credibility instantly because you sound like you don't even believe your own data.
The pace of your speech is heavily scrutinized by the listener's brain. There is a fascinating Harvard study that proves a slower, more deliberate speaking pace is actually perceived by audiences as a primary signal of high intelligence and deep competence.
A slower pace means higher intelligence. That's so interesting.
When you rush through your words, you seem frantic, as if you were afraid they're going to stop listening at any second. When you deliberately take your time, giving your words space to breathe and resonate, the listener's brain interprets that as deep thoughtfulness and unshakable authority.
You are communicating that what you have to say is worth waiting for.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the actual, literal opening words you use. The golden rule laid out here is so simple, but so frequently violated. Never, ever apologize for speaking or taking up time.
Never.
Do not start your pitch with, I'm not sure if this is entirely right, but, or sorry to interrupt, just had a quick thought. You are instantly telling the entire room that your own opinion has low value.
Yes, you are sinking your own ship.
And if you devalue your own words before you even say them, you're explicitly training everyone else to devalue them too.
Exactly. You must open with clear, purposeful, declarative statements. You state your intent.
No apologies.
So, let's say you have done all this. You have optimized your posture, your eye contact, your pace, and your opening words. You have successfully survived the first 3 seconds and passed the primitive brain's threat assessment.
Yeah. Okay. Made it through the door.
Now the challenge shifts. You have their attention, but how do you hold the room? How do you maintain that gravitational pull? This brings us to a massive societal misconception: the fatal confusion between true authority and mere aggression.
This is such a critical distinction, especially in corporate environments. So many people mistake volume, force, and steamrolling others for authority.
They think whoever is loudest is the leader.
Right, but aggression is basically like a hammer. You are just forcing compliance by smashing things. You might get the nail into the wood, but you are denting the wood in the process.
That is a great analogy.
True authority, on the other hand, is like gravity. It is completely effortless. It doesn't need to shout to be felt. It doesn't need to smash anything. It just quietly, inevitably, pulls people into your orbit.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize the physics of interaction. Aggression is inherently based on intimidation and emotional reactivity. It is loud, it is fast, and it is forceful.
And people hate it.
They do. And yes, it might get you temporary compliance in the moment because people just want the screaming to stop, but it builds a massive reservoir of resentment.
Oh, for sure. People will actively look for ways to undermine you if you treat them like that.
Exactly. True authority is calm, controlled, and deeply magnetic. And the foundation of that magnetic pull is emotional regulation.
Regulation, okay.
When a truly authoritative person is challenged or insulted in a meeting, they do not get defensive, they do not get angry, they take a microsecond to process the emotion internally, acknowledge it, and then they consciously choose their response rather than being controlled by a knee-jerk reaction.
And what is really counterintuitive is that part of establishing that true authority involves something called strategic vulnerability.
Yes.
We are taught that leaders must be invincible, right? That showing a crack in the armor is weakness. But the book argues that admitting a mistake or asking a genuine question about something you don't understand actually builds immense trust.
It absolutely does.
It proves to the room that you are focused on discovering the truth and achieving the best outcome, not just protecting your own fragile ego. But there's a huge caveat here.
Right, very big caveat.
Admitting you calculated a spreadsheet wrong is strategic vulnerability. Trauma dumping your deepest childhood insecurities on your team during a quarterly review is just oversharing, and that completely destroys trust.
Precisely. It comes down to demonstrating emotional maturity. Strategic vulnerability shows that you are secure enough in your overall competence to admit a specific blind spot.
Right. I know I'm smart, so I'm not afraid to say I don't know this one thing.
Exactly, and this concept feeds directly into what the book outlines as the charisma formula. We need to completely dismantle the cultural myth that charisma is some magical aura you are just born with.
Right, it's not a superpower.
Charisma is not magic. It is a highly specific, observable combination of behaviors that can be practiced, refined, and manufactured on command.
I love this because it reframes charisma entirely. Charisma isn't a spotlight you shine on yourself to show everyone how amazing and witty and smart you are.
Not at all.
Charisma is actually a mirror you hold up to make the other person feel like they are the most fascinating, important person in the room.
Yes.
And this formula breaks down into 3 actionable components. The first is presence intensity.
And presence intensity is incredibly rare in today's digital landscape. It means giving someone your complete, undivided, absolute attention.
Which feels like a luxury these days.
It really is. We live in a world where everyone is perpetually distracted. They are looking at their phone, they're checking the notification on their smartwatch, or they are literally scanning the room over your shoulder to see if there is someone more important they should be talking to.
I hate when people do that.
We all do. So when you give someone intense, focused presence, it creates a powerful, positive emotional reaction in their nervous system. They feel seen, heard, and valued in a way they rarely experience in modern life.
It is almost intoxicating to be on the receiving end of that. You feel like you're the only 2 people on the planet.
Yes.
The second component of the formula is emotional attunement. This isn't just listening to the words, it is reading between the lines.
Right, it's about context.
It is actively noticing the subtle shifts in their body language, the slight hesitation in their voice before they answer a question, and adjusting your communication to match and support whatever emotional state they are experiencing.
You're calibrating to them.
If they are speaking quietly and thoughtfully, you don't blast them with high-energy hype. You attune to their frequency.
And the third piece of the formula is curiosity amplification. This goes far beyond asking standard, polite, small talk questions like, "How was your weekend?"
Oh yeah, those are just filler.
It is asking deep, probing questions because you are genuinely fascinated by their unique perspective on the world. You aren't just politely waiting for your turn to talk so you can tell your own story. You are digging into their mind.
You want to know how they tick.
When you combine those 3 things, intense physical presence, deep emotional attunement, and genuine curiosity, you become incredibly magnetic. You become someone people cannot forget.
So we have built our physical presence, we are commanding attention, we are reading the room, and we are deploying this charisma formula.
We're doing great.
But here is where the dynamic gets really interesting. We have spent all this time talking about exactly what to do with your words, your eyes, and your body language. But what happens when you just stop?
What do you mean?
What happens when you stop speaking entirely? The most overlooked, underutilized tool in the entire communication arsenal is the power of nothing. Strategic silence.
Oh, this is a powerful one. Most people are absolutely terrified of silence in a conversation.
Terrified.
They feel this agonizing physical compulsion to fill every single empty gap with noise. And that fear is exactly where filler words come from. Basically, right. Filler words are nothing more than the verbal manifestation of internal anxiety. They dilute sharp, brilliant ideas into a mush of hesitation. Learning to tolerate silence and then learning to use it strategically is an absolute game changer for your authority.
I have to be honest, I completely suffer from the fear of silence. Like, my immediate internal thought is, if I pause for even 2 seconds, won't someone just jump in, interrupt me, and steal the floor?
It's a very common fear.
If I leave a gap, I lose my turn, right? I am giving up control.
That is a very natural assumption, but it stems from a misunderstanding of how physical presence works in tandem with silence.
Okay, tell me more.
Silence alone is vulnerable, yes. If you pause, drop your eyes to the floor, slump your shoulders, and look lost, absolutely, someone will jump in and take over.
Because you look like you're done.
Exactly. But if you maintain a confident, upright physical posture and hold steady, piercing eye contact during that pause, it acts as an invisible shield.
An invisible shield.
Your body language is actively signaling, I am not finished speaking, I am simply thinking, and you need to wait. People will instinctively respect that physical boundary and wait for you to continue.
That visual of the posture shield is brilliant. It makes the silence aggressive in a good way, an assertive way. And the book breaks down 6 specific types of pauses you can deploy.
Let's go through.
Instead of just listing them, let's talk about how they actually feel in a room. The first is the confidence pause. Imagine you are about to answer a crucial question in a job interview.
Okay, high stakes.
Instead of immediately blurting out the first word that comes to mind, you take a deliberate 2-second silence right before you start speaking. It signals that you are choosing your words carefully, which automatically makes the audience lean in.
They subconsciously assume that whatever you are taking the time to formulate is worth waiting for.
Exactly. The second is the emphasis pause. You use this right after you make a bold statement or deliver a key piece of data.
Right, because most people rush from point to point, terrified of losing momentum.
And as a result, their very best ideas get lost in the flood of words. The emphasis pause acts as a highlighter. It lets the weight of your bold statement physically sink into the listener's brain, forcing them to digest it before you move on.
That is crucial for retention. Then there is the invitation silence. I have seen master negotiators use this.
Oh, this one is sneaky.
It is. This is when you intentionally leave a longer vacuum in the conversation, maybe after you state your terms. Because human beings inherently hate awkward silence, the other person will almost always feel compelled to fill that vacuum to relieve their own anxiety.
They just start talking to fill the void.
And when they do, they often reveal deeper truths, hidden constraints, or extra information they never intended to share. You basically let their own discomfort do the negotiating for you.
It is incredibly effective. The fourth is the processing pause. This is your absolute lifeline when you are asked a high-pressure, difficult, or even hostile question.
Yes.
Instead of panic answering and blurting out a defense that you immediately regret, you take a deliberate beat to buy time. You visibly process the question. It shows the room that you are thoughtful, measured, and not easily rattled rather than emotionally reactive.
The fifth is the tension pause, which honestly sounds incredibly uncomfortable to execute.
It sounds brutal.
It is allowing a difficult emotion or a heavy truth to just sit there in the air without rushing in to fix it, apologize for it, or smooth it over with a joke.
Like letting them squirm a bit.
Exactly. If you are a manager delivering tough performance feedback, letting that tension sit actually forces the employee to absorb the gravity of the situation. If you immediately follow up the critique with, but hey, you're doing great overall, you completely erase the impact. You have to let the tension do its work.
And finally, the reflection silence. This is used at the very end of a deep conversation, a complex negotiation, or a major presentation.
Just letting it all settle.
Right. It prevents rushed, impulsive decisions and gives everyone in the room a moment to mentally review what was just agreed upon. It ensures alignment. Mastering these 6 specific pauses elevates you from someone who just talks at people to someone who truly commands the physical and emotional space.
It is a massive upgrade.
Okay, so let's take inventory. We are commanding attention, we are radiating true authority rather than aggression, and we are wielding silence like a seasoned master.
We are doing great.
We have their attention. But how do we actually move the needle? Having a great presence is nice, but how do we change minds? How do we get people to take action, sign the contract, or approve the budget? We need to install the Persuasion Operating System.
To do that safely, we first have to draw a hard, impenetrable line between persuasion and manipulation.
Very important distinction.
Because the tools are similar, but the intent is entirely different. Manipulation is coercion. It is tricking, pressuring, or deceiving someone into taking an action that benefits you but ultimately harms them or goes against their best interests.
It's selfish.
Persuasion, however, is entirely ethical. It is helping people navigate their own objections to make decisions that serve their own authentic interests while simultaneously achieving your legitimate goals. Persuasion is a mutual win. Manipulation is a parasite.
I love that distinction. I like to think of it like this. Persuasion is acting as a trusted tour guide. You're walking someone across a sturdy, well-lit bridge to a beautiful new perspective or a better solution.
I like that.
Manipulation is standing behind them in the dark and pushing them onto a trapdoor. You want them to walk willingly across that bridge because they trust you. They trust the architecture of the bridge, and they want to reach the destination you are showing them.
And the architecture of that bridge wasn't invented yesterday. It was actually laid out centuries ago by Aristotle.
Oh, we're going old school.
His timeless pillars of influence remain the foundation of how the human brain evaluates an argument. Ethos, pathos, and logos.
Like those down for us.
Ethos is your credibility. Does the listener trust you? Do you have the moral and professional authority to be speaking on this topic? Pathos is emotion. Do they feel anything about what you are saying? Are you connecting to their desires or their fears? And logos is logic. Does your argument actually make rational sense? Does the data hold up to scrutiny?
And what is amazing is that the absolute best way to seamlessly combine ethos, pathos, and logos isn't a PowerPoint slide. It is through the storytelling framework.
Yes.
We have all heard the phrase, facts tell but stories sell. And it is neurologically true. If you just rattle off statistics, the brain's logic centers evaluate them coldly and often get bored or look for holes in the data.
They're just dry numbers.
But if you tell a compelling story, you trigger neural alignment. The listener's brain waves actually begin to sync with yours. The framework for this is wonderfully simple. Setup, conflict, resolution, message.
It's the classic arc.
You set the scene to create context, you introduce a relatable problem to create tension, you show how the problem was solved, and then you deliver the core, actionable lesson.
Stories are so powerful because they bypass the logical defense mechanisms of the brain and speak directly to the emotional processing centers.
They sneak right past the guards.
But beyond foundational storytelling, the book details several advanced influence techniques you can layer into your conversations. One of the most powerful, especially in business, is assumption reframing.
Let's really dig into this one, because it feels like a superpower when you are stuck. Imagine you are in a meeting, and the team is completely deadlocked because they think a project is too expensive. Everyone is focused on the limits.
Right, they can't see past the budget.
Assumption reframing is when you challenge the invisible boundaries of their thinking by asking a highly specific hypothetical question. You ask, okay, let's pretend for a moment that budget was absolutely not an issue. We had unlimited funds. What would our ideal solution look like?
You take away the wall.
By temporarily removing the constraint, you free their minds to explore creative solutions they had previously blocked out. And once they fall in love with the ideal solution, they will often find creative ways to make it work within the actual budget.
It shifts the brain from a defensive, constrained posture to an expansive, creative posture. Another incredible technique is reciprocity activation.
Oh, this one is deeply ingrained in us.
Human beings are deeply hardwired by evolution to return favors. If someone shares their food with you, you share yours with them. In a modern context, if you provide genuine, unexpected value to someone first, without asking for anything in return, they will feel a natural, almost uncomfortable psychological desire to balance the scales and help you later.
It has to be real, like.
The key is that it cannot be a fake transactional gift. It has to be genuine value offered freely.
Right. It is not saying, hey, I brought you a coffee, now sign my petition. That's just a bribe.
Exactly.
It is consistently sending helpful articles to a colleague or offering to review their presentation when they are swamped. Months later, when you need a favor, they are eager to help. Then there is consistency leveraging. This is fascinating.
How does that work?
People have a deep psychological need to act in ways that are consistent with their own stated values or their past commitments. If they don't, they experience cognitive dissonance, which feels terrible.
We hate feeling like hypocrites.
Exactly. If you can logically tie your current request to a value they have already publicly claimed, like, hey, I know you've always championed innovative, outside-the-box thinking, which is why I think you'll love this proposal, they are highly likely to agree simply to maintain their own internal sense of consistency.
You are aligning your goal with their identity. And of course, there is scarcity and urgency. We naturally value things much more when we believe they are rare, exclusive, or time-sensitive.
The FOMO effect.
The massive ethical caveat here is that the scarcity must be absolutely genuine. If you use a fake deadline just to pressure a client and they find out, your ethos, your credibility is destroyed forever.
You can never get it back.
But respectfully highlighting a genuine time constraint, like a vendor discount expiring, helps people overcome their natural tendency to procrastinate.
So persuasion is an incredible tool when you are acting as that tour guide, and the other person is generally open to walking across the bridge.
Yes.
But we all know the real world doesn't always work like a perfectly scripted negotiation. What happens when you step onto a landmine?
The difficult conversations.
What happens when the room turns overtly hostile, emotions run high, and you find yourself in the middle of a screaming match or an organizational crisis?
This is where we have to learn to navigate the minefields. High stakes, high pressure communication requires a complete shift in strategy. In a standard argument, most people instinctively act like aggressive tennis players.
Doesn't blame it.
They are standing firmly at the baseline, gripped with tension, just trying to smash the ball past their opponent to score a point and win the match.
Right, they just want to win.
But smart communication in a conflict requires stepping around the net, standing on the same side as the other person, and looking at the problem as the ball that you are both trying to return together. It is a profound shift from adversarial combat to collaborative problem solving.
That mindset shift changes the entire temperature of the room. And the very first tactical step in doing that is separating facts from interpretations. I think this is where 99% of workplace and relationship conflicts completely derail.
I agree completely.
Let's role play this. If a manager says to an employee, you clearly don't respect deadlines and you are dragging the team down, that is an interpretation.
And a harsh one.
It is a highly subjective, emotionally charged narrative, and it will instantly make the employee defensive and angry. But if a manager says, this project was submitted on Thursday, which was 2 days after the agreed-upon Tuesday date, that is a verifiable, objective fact.
Exactly. Once you establish the objective, boring facts, you have a shared reality. From there, you can start unpacking the interpretations without the immediate emotional explosion.
You start on solid ground.
You can ask, what happened between Tuesday and Thursday? And while you are unpacking it, you have to employ the hardest communication skill of all. Listening to truly understand, not just listening to prep your rebuttal.
That is so hard to do. Most of us, while the other person is talking, are just secretly loading our conversational ammunition.
We really are.
We are ignoring what they are saying and just waiting for them to take a breath so we can fire back with our counterargument. You have to genuinely listen and actively acknowledge their valid points, and this is crucial. Admitting they are right about a specific detail doesn't mean you forfeit the entire argument.
No, it doesn't.
It actually de-escalates the tension and proves to them that you are a reasonable, objective person who can see reality.
It validates their experience, which lowers their defenses. Now, if a difficult one-on-one conversation elevates into a full-blown organizational crisis, say, a massive product failure or a PR disaster, the rules become even more stringent.
Stakes go way up.
In a crisis, your first, second, and third most vital task as a communicator is managing your own emotional state. Why? Because a leader's panic is highly contagious.
Panic spreads like wildfire.
The amygdala in your team's brains will mirror whatever you project. If you walk into the room looking terrified and frantic, your team will instantly panic, and their cognitive processing will shut down. You have to process your stress internally, breathe deeply, and project absolute stability externally, even if you are terrified inside.
Stability is the anchor. Transparency is the other vital piece in a crisis. When things go wrong, the instinct is to hide and wait until you have all the answers.
Which is the worst thing you can do.
You have to communicate immediately. You have to clearly share what you know, openly admit what you don't know yet, and clearly state exactly what steps you are actively taking to find out that missing information. If you create a vacuum of information, people's anxiety will fill that vacuum with terrifying worst-case scenario rumors.
And finally, in a crisis, you must employ solution-focused redirection. It is very, very easy in a high-stress situation to get sucked into a toxic doom loop of analyzing whose fault it is.
Who sent that email? Who approved this design?
Exactly. While forensic accountability is absolutely needed later, in the heat of the active crisis, you must relentlessly redirect the room's energy toward the future. You keep asking, what resources do we have right now, and what is our immediate next step to stop the bleeding?
All right, so we can command a physical room, we can persuade ethically, and we can put out massive organizational fires without losing our cool. But let's be real about the modern world. The room isn't always a physical boardroom anymore.
Sadly, no.
Often the room is a pixelated Zoom call, or a chaotic, fast-moving Slack channel, or a massive 20-person email thread. How do we adapt all these deep psychological tools to the digital world, where we are stripped of so much context?
That requires what the book calls social calibration and digital mastery. Social calibration is the meta skill of walking into any environment, physical or digital, and instantly reading the unwritten rules and power dynamics.
You have to read the room.
Are you dealing with a strict, formal corporate hierarchy or a flat, informal startup vibe? Is your audience highly analytical, needing spreadsheets, data points, and immediate bottom lines? Or are they relational, needing warm stories, small talk, and emotional connection before they do business?
You have to adapt.
You have to adapt your communication style to the specific environment without losing your core identity.
But doing that digitally feels like communicating with one hand tied behind your back. Think about it. How on earth do you build genuine emotional connection and project undeniable authority when you are quite literally just black text on a white screen?
It's a huge hurdle.
All your physical charisma, your grounded posture, your perfectly timed eye contact, it's all completely stripped away.
It is a massive challenge, and it means your digital strategy has to work twice as hard to compensate. First, you have to optimize for the platform itself. A formal external email to a new client is not the same as a casual Slack message to your team, and a Zoom call requires an entirely different energy than an in-person meeting.
Yep.
To maintain attention in written text, you must use strategic formatting. People do not read screens the way they read a novel, they skim them.
We just look for the bullet points.
If you send a massive block of dense text, their brain registers it as a chore and they will ignore it. You need short, punchy paragraphs. You need plenty of white space. You need clear bullet points and bolded key phrases. You are designing the reading experience to be frictionless.
Frictionless text, I like that. But what about the emotional component? How do you replace the warmth of a smile or the magnetism of your physical presence with an email?
The book suggests it comes down to injecting strategic vulnerability and highly intentional personal storytelling into your digital communication.
Because the words are doing all the heavy lifting.
Because they can't see your face or feel your presence, your words have to carry all the emotional weight. You have to be slightly more expressive with your language, and you also have to proactively establish your credibility through digital social proof.
How do you do that without bragging?
You have to seamlessly weave in your past successes, your relevant expertise, or mutual connections early in the digital exchange so they know exactly why they should trust the text on their screen.
Exactly. The medium changes, but the fundamental psychological principles of trust, authority, and clarity remain exactly the same. Now, we have covered a truly massive arsenal of psychological tools today.
We really have.
We have dismantled the 7 fatal flaws, mastered the neuroscience of first impressions, learned to wield silence, persuaded ethically, navigated high-conflict minefields, and adapted to the digital age. But here is the stark, undeniable reality. Absolutely none of these tools matter if your nerves completely fail you in the critical moment.
The dreaded moment of truth.
Oh yeah. You know the theory, you have the notes, but you step up to the podium or unmute your mic, your mouth goes completely dry, your heart hammers in your ears, and your mind goes entirely blank.
It happens to the best of us.
To prevent that, we need to install the final, most crucial piece of the puzzle, the confidence algorithm. And installing it starts by taking a sledgehammer to a very persistent cultural myth.
What myth is that?
Most people believe that once they finally achieve success, once they get the promotion or make the $1 million or get the applause, then they will finally feel confident. But the formula is completely backwards.
It really is.
Success does not create confidence. Success comes from confidence. You have to build the internal confidence first in order to execute the behaviors that achieve the success.
And to build that internal architecture, you must deeply understand the difference between outcome-based confidence and process-based confidence.
Let's unpack that.
Outcome-based confidence is incredibly fragile. It relies entirely on external validation, getting the applause, making the sale, having everyone nod in agreement.
So if they don't clap, you crumble.
Exactly. If you fail to get that external result, your confidence shatters into a million pieces, and you are left paralyzed. Process-based confidence, however, is entirely under your control, which makes it unshakable.
Because it's about what you do, not what they do.
It is the deep internal trust in your own preparation, your own competence, and your proven ability to handle whatever goes wrong, regardless of the immediate outcome.
You build that process-based confidence by actively accumulating what the book calls an evidence bank. Every single time you do something difficult, every time you survive a high-pressure meeting, every time you successfully navigate a tough conversation without losing your temper, you deposit that memory into your mental evidence bank.
You're saving the receipts.
Exactly. When the nerves hit and doubt creeps in before a big presentation, you don't just rely on empty positive affirmations. You literally look at your own mental ledger and say, I have hard, undeniable evidence that I am capable of handling this because I've done it before.
It is rooted in reality, not fantasy. But alongside the mental evidence, you also have to regulate your physical physiology in the moment. The mind-body connection is not metaphorical, it is a biological feedback loop.
How does that loop work?
If your brain is panicking, your breathing becomes rapid and shallow, which tells your heart to beat faster, which tells your brain there is a physical threat, creating a spiral of panic.
Oh, wow. So you literally breathe yourself into a panic attack.
By taking deep, slow, controlled breaths, you can literally hack your autonomic nervous system. You force your heart rate to slow down, which chemically signals to your brain that you are safe. It physically grounds you back in your process-based confidence.
But wait, I have to stop you there. Isn't everything we are talking about right now just a very sophisticated, fancy way of saying, fake it till you make it?
No, absolutely not.
Like, just put on a brave face, strike a superhero power pose in the bathroom, and pretend you know what you are doing until you actually figure it out.
I am so glad you asked that, because the book strongly and explicitly refutes the fake it till you make it philosophy. Faking it is precisely what causes emotional leakage and crippling imposter syndrome.
Because you know you're faking it.
When you try to fake competence you don't possess, your brain knows you are lying to it. That internal cognitive dissonance inevitably leaks out in your nervous micro-expressions, your shaky voice, and your rigid body language.
So your body tells on you.
True. Magnetic confidence cannot be faked. It must be built through deliberate, hard-won competence. You honestly assess your weaknesses. You practice your communication skills relentlessly in low-stakes environments to safely expand your comfort zone.
You put in the reps.
You focus on mastering one single habit at a time until it becomes unconscious muscle memory. You do not fake it. You practice until you are it.
You practice until you are it.
Yeah.
That is the gold standard right there.
We have covered an incredible transformative journey today.
We really have. We started by ruthlessly eliminating those 7 invisible fatal flaws, like reactive communication and info dumping, that quietly sabotage us before we even speak. We learned how to scientifically hack the 3-second first impression with grounded posture and precise eye contact.
We learned how to wield the immense gravitational power of strategic silence.
And how to persuade ethically as a tour guide, not a manipulator. We also explored how to navigate the volatile minefields of conflict by stepping onto the same side of the net and separating facts from emotional interpretations.
We discussed how to dynamically calibrate our presence for both physical boardrooms and digital screens.
And finally, how to hardwire our nervous systems with unshakable process-based confidence. It is a complete fundamental transformation of how you interact with the human beings around you.
It is a profound realization.
It really is an operating system upgrade for your life. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, our learner, with one final, deeply provocative thought to ponder. We have spent this entire time talking about how the words you choose, the pauses you take, and your physical presence shape how the external world sees you.
But the deepest, most powerful truth of communication mastery is that these tools don't just change the external world.
Exactly. They literally rewire your own brain. When you consciously change how you communicate, when you force yourself to hold eye contact, when you embrace silence, when you regulate your emotions under fire, you begin to reshape your own internal identity.
Your communication is not just a reflection of your reality, it is the architect of your reality.
You don't just change your external results, you quite literally change who you are at a neurological level.
Oh,
So as you step out into the world and into your very next conversation, whether it's a massive, high-stakes boardroom presentation or just a casual chat over coffee, do not step into it with fear or hesitation.
step into it with the quiet, magnetic power of a true communication master.
You have the blueprint. You understand the invisible architecture. Now it is time to build. Until next time.